And now CRM Audio presents Captain Redlaces Power BI Corner with Business Solutions MVP Scott Sewell.
This episode of Captain Redlaces Power BI Corner is brought to you by our friends at KingswaySoft. KingswaySoft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that make data integration affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 65 countries and regions rely on KingswaySoft to integrate data with various application systems in order to drive their business efficiency and fully leverage their information assets. KingswaySoft is a leading provider of Microsoft Dynamics integration software, including Dynamics 365, CRM, AX, NAV, GP, SL, as well as many other applications such as Marketo, Dropbox, QuickBooks, and Salesforce. Whether you need one solution or several, KingswaySoft works easily within the SSIS platform to make your integration process as quick and easy as possible. Many of their clients have seen 3 to 10 times greater data integration performance after switching to the SSIS integration toolkit. We thank KingswaySoft for their support of Captain Redlaces Power BI Corner.
Well, welcome, Scott. Welcome, Captain. How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm currently sitting in Toronto, Canada, working with a team here, but yeah, very good. A little bit chilly, but it's good.
So does Power BI have a Canadian language pack?
I think so. It just it adds A to everything. But no, it's good. Get some good folks get to work with up here.
Have a maple syrup visualization.
That's right. That's right. It's good.
That's right. All right. So what do we got to talk about today?
Well, I thought about if we ought to talk a little bit about how Power BI. When you're talking about CRM with Power BI, I've got some visualizations. I've got some things inside of CRM that I can use. Well, why would I consider those? If I've got those, what's the strength weaknesses as compared to using a Power BI against that? Because I got to tell you, there are some times where there are some cases where I hear Power BI pitched as being the be all end all and the thing that solves all problems. And in fact, it's a tool like many other things that has its strengths and its weaknesses. And the things inside of CRM again have their strengths and weaknesses. I thought maybe we'd tee those up and compare them a little bit.
So how to use the right tool for the job.
Exactly. Fit for purpose.
Okay.
So go ahead.
No, you go ahead. So let's say I have a business requirement and I want to visualize my data. Pick the industry of your choice. Say yep. I'm a sales manager and I want to see how my team is doing. Yeah. How do I go about knowing which I should use?
Sure. I mean, there's really let's talk about in terms of advantages and disadvantages of having that data. If I've got that data inside of CRM. And I'm trying to make the decision of, do I try to visualize it in CRM versus do I try to bring it out and look at it in Power BI? CRM, I mean, obviously I grew up in the CRM world like you have, and a strong affinity for all things CRM. And there's some real advantages to using CRM. So let's talk about what those are first off. First and foremost is the visualizations that you have in CRM, like those charts that you have inline on a form. You can have inline, and then beside that you have a view. They're baked into CRM. They're right in the CRM UX. It's seamless between the two. That's a huge advantage that shouldn't be overlooked. The other piece that I would say is probably a big advantage in some cases is that the data that's visualized inside those graphs is tied to the user's security level. It's tied to the user's entitlements inside of CRM, and that's something that shouldn't be dismissed without understanding the value. Because some organizations, absolutely every speck of data that's inside of CRM has to be filtered to the individual by their permission to see it. For instance, like a list of opportunities. Maybe your organization says Joe can see all of Joe's opportunities, but Jennifer is a sales manager, and Jennifer can see all of Joel's opportunities, plus Jennifer's opportunities, plus Joaquin's opportunities over here. So really, that CRM visualization understands the permissions that you've given records inside of CRM, and it's going to respond accordingly. Let's see, other advantages might be they move smoothly from dev to test to prod because they're all part of that solution model, whereas Power BI does not. Easy to configure, they're context aware, no code needed. It points it to CRM's data model, and you've got those items, and you point it and you're off to the races. You got the CRM records and the CRM attributes. You don't have to do anything else. You just you can just configure it, right? And you got some interactivity available to you that way. But on the downside of the CRM, some of the weaknesses of the CRM side is that all of those visualizations have to rely on CRM data exclusively. You can't, in those visualizations that you see inside of CRM, you can't mash up data between CRM and like an enterprise BI system in the background. Record size. I mean, because of that security overhead, you've got about 50,000 records you can deal with, and that's a constraint that's going to prevent you from doing really, really big data models that way. And there's some format constraints. They're basic and they look nice. There's some tweaks and hacks that you can do. Like if you look at CRM Chart Guy's blog, he's got some nice tweaks to say, open up the code and do a little bit here and there, but you're still kind of constrained to some basic formatting. And there's no real additional measures or calculations that you can introduce at runtime other than just your aggregates, your standard aggregates, sum, average, min, max. Those kind of things are baked in, but beyond that, there's no constraint. You can take that, and so those are the constraints. Those are the strengths, weaknesses we've all worked with, right? That's what we've lived these last several years with this tool, and you can do a lot within that. But if you then say, okay, now I'm looking at the sales data and I want to compare it. What can I do with it if I introduce some of that Power BI goodness into the mix? Well, Power BI gives you that advantage of saying, I want to mash up CRM data with external data. I want to take this sales number that I have, put it up in front, and then there's additional metrics beyond just a sales number that say, average transaction size, days sales outstanding, some other things that might be coming out of your back end systems that you don't necessarily want to lift and shift into CRM, but you do want to be able to show it in your dashboard. Well, Power BI's Bob's your uncle there, so that'll work very well. Some wildly creative visualizations that are available in Power BI. I don't know if you've seen the dashboard that in the list of custom visualizations, there's one that's an aquarium, and the cool thing is it's an aquarium that shows a bunch of fish in there, and each fish represents some attribute that you have, and the size of the fish represents the relative size of that attribute as opposed to the other records that are in there. Like I had some demo data of insurance companies, and the relative size of the insurance companies, as they got bigger, the fish got bigger, as the size of that insurance got smaller. But what was even more fun about the whole thing was if the number went negative, of like they were losing money, then the fish would turn upside down and float to the top of the tank, and you could fish it out. So
yeah,
wildly creative.
The dead fish report. You don't want to be the dead fish in the report.
That's right. I mean, that's
talk with your boss.
But it's that wildly creative visualizations that's available in Power BI are really useful in that you can visualize things in different ways than what that you had before. Huge monster data sets are available without problems of overhead and performance. Once you've built that data model, it's simple for other users to explore. You can add additional custom calculations that are calculations that are above and beyond just the standard aggregates. And then of course, visualizing this on mobile is a real is almost inherent to the whole process.
Right.
And Microsoft is dumping money into it, but there's some pieces of that you still got to think back to the CRM visualization, the CRM side, and say, what are the things that I'm giving up if I move into Power BI? Well, one thing to be aware of is that outside of like personal mode BI, which is where I've got my Power BI desktop and I've pointed it directly to CRM using my login, outside of that, which is kind of a limited use case, once you've pulled the data out and built it into a bigger model, you're probably going to be losing that entitlement layer or that entitlement wrapper around the data that's in CRM. Now, that's good and bad, and there's some strengths and weaknesses there. But again, outside of that personal mode of connecting to CRM, you got to deal with data, your data entitlement.
Yeah, I think in our next episode we'll talk a little bit more about the security aspect.
Probably need to. It's probably worth digging in a little further into that. But also, currently inside of CRM, you can only surface it as a personal a cell inside of a personal dashboard. And as I was talking to the team right now, it's really related to the fact that it's kind of into this entitlements area. The reason it's in a personal dashboard, because you've got to spin up the CRM side, the dashboard, and then you've got to tie it to separately an external Power BI tile in a Power BI dashboard and surface it there. So there's a little bit of wonkiness there that you don't have in a native CRM dashboard. If you're just trying to say, I want to see this inside of CRM. There's more effort involved to configure the requirement, or configure the connectivity, and getting the data sets, especially if you're taking CRM data plus external data. There's some other pieces in that are there, and potentially you might need some additional infrastructure if you want to support building a centralized data schema layer that you use to pull data from CRM plus external other systems to consolidate it. So all in all, the strengths, depending on what you're trying to do, out of the box CRM visualizations might still be the choice to go with, but you'll hit some boundaries there when you want to grow into very large and more complex reporting. Power BI is definitely the area that's going to go there, but understand that some of the advantages you had while you were sitting in the CRM visualization, you need to address those when you get outside that one small model.
Well,
so,
I don't think it's either or though, because I don't know of anybody who uses Power BI that has totally gotten away from the out of the box visualizations either, because you're gonna want to use inline visualizations with views. You're going to have, for one thing, you can't beat the out of the box visualizations for the quick prototype or quick let's do a chart and see what it looks like kind of thing. So that's where, again, I think you're right. There are certain things that do work better. System dashboards is an important one, but just if I have a simple view and I want to see a chart, building that chart quickly with the out of the box chart and visualization tools, there's still definitely a place for that.
Oh, 100%. I certainly didn't mean to imply that you would go with one exclusively over the other. You definitely want to look at the purpose of what you're tackling and pick the tool that's right for it. The nice thing is, hey, we now have a choice, whereas we didn't have a choice before. So it's a wonderful time to be alive. What an amazing time, right? So no, that's good.
Yeah, and actually this Ulrich Carlson, the CRM chart guy, has written some nice stuff about Power BI too. So he's got some good resources on his blog that he's put out there about using Power BI and Power BI versus out of the box charts as well. And there are things a lot. If you get into the XML, there are a lot of things you can do to make your out of the box charts a lot prettier. Add lines, add different types of visualizations that aren't available by the native chart designer.
Mm-hmm. But absolutely, but you're starting to budge over into that. I found that if you modify those out of the box charts enough, then you can't. You'll start losing functionality out of them. It's a bit of a slippery slope. I just don't want to be careful when I'm choosing fit for purpose that I, take it all into consideration.
Yep, absolutely. All right, great tips as usual, Captain. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Well, it was good talking to you again, and I look forward to catching up again soon.